Everything has a beginning, and our Better Guard AI is no different. It all starts with a device. In your UEFN, click on the Verse Explorer in the top right corner. Right-click on the Content folder and select Create New Verse File. Name your Verse device. I'll call mine Guard AI device. After that, click the Create button, and Visual Studio Code will automatically open for you. This is your Guard AI device verse file, and we'll be working with it later. First, in Visual Studio Code, navigate to and open the Fortnite.digest.verse file. Press Ctrl+F to open the search bar, type in Guard Spawner device, and hit Enter. This will take you to line 2220, where you can see all the features offered by the Guard Spawner device. The key information we need to focus on are the events, such as spawned event, alerted event, target lost event, and so on. To make future use easier, we're going to copy all the event information into our Guard AI device verse file. Start by copying the spawned event code. Then, navigate back to our Guard AI device verse file. Remove all the example code and paste the spawned event code here. Since we only need this for reference, we'll comment out these lines and format them a little to satisfy my OCD. Repeat this process for the rest of the events. Alerted event, copy it, and then paste it here. And do the same for target lost event. I won't be using the suspicious event, so I'll skip that one. Continue with the unaware event, and finally, skip the damaged event. We're using the last two, eliminated event and eliminating event. As you can see, the spawned event is triggered when a guard is spawned, and the alerted event is signaled when a guard identifies an opponent. Epic Games has done a great job of commenting on the code, which makes it easier to understand. To use these events, we need a guard spawner device. Since the guard spawner device can only be set from UEFN, we need to use the editable attribute. You can name it whatever you like. I'll name mine Guard Spawner. The type will be Guard Spawner device, and the value will also be Guard Spawner device, followed by an opening and closing curly bracket. Now, we can use Guard Spawner to access the spawned event. We can subscribe to this event using the onSpawned function. You might wonder what happens when we subscribe to an event. It means that whenever the event occurs, we'll be notified immediately. In our case, when a guard is spawned, the guard spawner will inform us, and it will call our onSpawned function. Next, we need to write our onSpawned function. The spawned event will provide us with an agent, which is the guard that has just spawned. So, our onSpawned function will take an agent as a parameter and return void, meaning it returns nothing. We'll write the function body later, so for now, I'll just put in empty parentheses to avoid any error lines. We will follow a similar process for the rest of the events. Alerted event. To speed up our process, we copied the code from the spawned event and modified it to work with the alerted event. We also updated the function name from onSpawned to onAlerted. Now, copy the event information here so that we can use it to create an onAlerted function. The alerted event provides a device AI interaction result, so we'll need to use that as a parameter and name it result. Also, don't forget to set the return type to void, meaning it returns nothing, and leave the function body empty for now with just parentheses. We'll need to repeat this same process for the rest of the events as well. I don't want to waste your time, so I'll speed through this part and see you in a bit. Alright, I've just finished with the last one, the eliminating event. As you can see, all the code is here, so make sure your code matches mine. We don't need the commented information here anymore, so let's move it above each corresponding function for easier reference. Start by copying the spawned event comments and pasting them above the onSpawned function. Then, repeat this process for the rest of the events. Okay, I'm done moving mine. How about you? Now, our onBegin function looks squeaky clean, and all the other functions have informative comments right where we need them. Now that we've laid a solid foundation, are you ready for the fun stuff? Let's start with the spawned event. According to the comment, This event is triggered when a guard is spawned, and it also sends us the agent representing the spawned guard. Perfect. With this information, we can control the guard immediately right after he's born. Talk about being ready to work from day one. This guard doesn't even wait to stretch his leg. We need to get a more specific version of the agent, which is a Fort character. We'll start with an if statement. Inside the parentheses, declare a variable named FC, followed by a colon and an equals sign, and call the getFort character function using the agent and square brackets. It might seem strange to call a function with square brackets, right? That's because it's a decide function, which requires square brackets and an if statement. I know this might seem a bit confusing at first, but trust me, the more you practice, the easier it will become. After this step, you might see an error saying it doesn't recognize what getFort character is. To fix this, follow the suggestion and copy the code starting with using, then paste it at the top of our verse script. Once you do that, the error will go away. Our plan is to make the guard move freely wherever we want. To achieve this, we need one more ingredient called navigatable. You can obtain this by using getNavigatable on the Fort character. Now, let's go back to our code. We'll do the same thing we did with the Fort character and call it nav. If another error shows up, just follow the suggestion, copy the code, and paste it at the top of the verse script to get rid of the error. In the navigatable, there's a function called navigate_to. Let's copy the code for reference and paste it back into our script. Add nav, followed by a dot before it to call the function. The first required argument is navigate_target. To create a target, there are two handy functions. Make navigation target. The first one uses a vector 3, which can be any location in the world. The second one uses another agent, which is really useful when you need to follow or chase someone. Let's start with the first one. Back in our script, we'll place it here. Remember, it requires a vector 3 with x, y, z coordinates for the location. If you encounter another error, you know what to do. Just follow the usual steps to fix it by copying and pasting the suggested code at the top of the script. For testing purposes, let's set the x coordinate to 1000.0 and keep the y and z coordinates at 0. Next, we'll remove any unnecessary code here. The second parameter is an optional movement type. There are two movement types available, walking and running. Of course, we're going to use running for better movement speed. Back in our code, since it's optional, we'll keep the question mark. Type movement type, add an equals sign, and then type S, followed by running. The next parameter is reach radius, which defines a sphere around the target. If the guard touches this sphere, it's considered to have reached the target. This will be handy later when our map has many covers or obstacles, but we don't need it now, so we'll set it to 0. As for the remaining parameters, we don't use them, so we can safely remove them. Alright, let's zoom out for a better view. You'll notice there's an error saying, navigate_to is a suspense function, which means we can't use it here directly. This gives us an opportunity to extract this code into a new function so we can reuse it later. This new function will make the guard roam around the map, so I'll name it roaming. It will take navigatable as a parameter, and it will also be a suspense function. Next, let's move the code we wrote into our new roaming function. Now, in order to call a suspense function inside a normal function, we need to use a spawn expression. We'll call our roaming function using spawn and pass nav as the parameter. It's always a good practice to test our code frequently. So, let's head back to UEFN. In the content browser, navigate to the Fortnite folder, then to the devices folder. In the search bar, type guard, and the guard spawner device will show up. Click and drag it into our map. You can place it wherever you like. We'll zoom in for a better view. Next, click on Verse in the top left menu bar and select Build Verse Code. Once that's done, navigate back to the content browser, click on the Guard AI device, and drag it into our map. In the Details panel on the right, you'll see a guard spawner field with the same name we used in our verse code. Click on the eyedropper tool and select the guard spawner device from the map. Now everything is set up. Click on Launch Session to test our code. Alright, once Fortnite has finished loading, hit Escape and click Start Game. When the game starts, you'll see the guard spawn a couple of seconds later and immediately start moving, just as the god intended. Let's follow them for a bit. Wow! You can see more guards spawning, and they all head toward the same destination. Perfect. But having the guards only move in one direction is kind of boring, right? So the next step is to make them move randomly around the map. Luckily, Verse already has a function for generating random numbers called getRandomFloat. This function generates a random number within a specified range, so it requires both a minimum and a maximum value. I'll use -5,000 and 5,000 for testing purposes. Once again, if you see an error, fix it as usual. I'll name this random value x, and I'll copy the same logic for the y-coordinate. Replace the old static values with these new random values. But right now, this only happens once. To make this behavior repeat infinitely, we need to use a loop expression. Indent this block of code so that it runs repeatedly in a loop. Now, let's head back to UEFN. To make debugging easier, we'll set the number of guards to spawn to just 1. After making this change, hit Build Verse Code. Wait a bit, and you'll see the Push Verse Change button appear. Click it. As you can see, when the guard reaches its destination, it immediately heads to a new one. Oh, I just noticed that the guard is running much slower than us, even though we're using the running mode. We'll need to adjust its speed to match ours, but that's a problem for future me, not now. Right now, the guard is on the same team as us, so we can't test its combat abilities. Let's head back to UEFN. Click on the guard spawner device, scroll down to the guard team index, and set it to a different value. In our case, setting it to 2 should be good enough. In the already running Fortnite session, you don't need to do anything. Just hit Start Game. When the guard spawns, you'll notice a question mark appears above its head, which then changes to an exclamation mark. This means the guard is in an alerted state and should shoot us immediately. But wait, it doesn't even react when we're right in front of its face. Is this guard blind or something? We need a way to control its vision. Fortunately, there's a handy function in Verse that can help with that. So, let's head back to our VS Code. When the exclamation mark appears above the guard's head, the onAlerted function gets called. This is where we need to control the guard's vision so it can start shooting at us. The function also gives us a device AI interaction result, which contains 2 optional agents, one named Source and the other Target. Based on the comments, Source is the guard and Target is us. Since these are optional agents, we need to wrap them in an if statement to get the actual agents. I'll name the source Agent Guard Agent and the target agent. To control the guard's vision, we'll use the getFocusInterface function. Right above this function, there are 2 versions of maintainFocus, one that takes a vector3 parameter and another that takes an agent parameter. Of course, we want the guard's eyes to lock onto ours, but I mean us, so we'll use the one that takes an agent. Let's get back to coding. First, we need to get the Fort character and name it GuardFC. Then, we use GuardFC to get the focus interface and name it GuardFI. Now, with GuardFI, we can use the maintainFocus function and pass target agent as the parameter. Since maintainFocus is a suspense function, we can't use it directly here. You know the drill. Let's extract it into a new function with the same name for easy reference. This new function will take GuardFY and target agent as parameters. Don't forget to add the suspends attribute and make it return void. Write the same function body as before and call it using a spawn expression. Alright, let's get back to UEFN. Click Build Verse Code and then push Verse Change. When the exclamation mark appears, the guard shoots us immediately. To make it more challenging, I'll hide over here. Look, the guard is still watching us. It's like he's using a wall hack. And when I show myself, he shoots right away, without any hesitation. How cool is that? To implement more complex strategies, we need a better design approach. Do you know what that is? That's right. We're heading toward using a state machine. However, since this video is already getting long, to stay focused and productive, I'll cover that in part 2. In the meantime, you can review this video and try it out yourself. This is my first tutorial, so I'm sure there are many things I can improve on. Please leave a comment and let me know what I can do better. I'd really appreciate your feedback. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe so I can stay motivated to make more videos in the future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.